What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for July 16th, 2023. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Good day for the Phils yesterday. They swept both games of the doubleheader, winning the first one 6-4 with a great comeback. That's what I like about this team. You can never count them out. They don't give up. They clawed their way back in, timely hits, and when they're on, that's what they do. Not the team that leaves runners in scoring position, but the team that you can never count out. That was like I said, very good win for them. Johan Rojas looked good, got his first major league action, and I still think that they called him up as more of an audition for possible trade suitors. We'll see, though. I mean, he definitely provided a nice little spark and is great best defensive outfielder we have now, like just after one game. So we'll see what happens as the trade deadline comes. Game 2, that's the team right there. That just good offense, good pitching. It was nice to see Bryce bust out of his homerless streak. Hopefully that now is the catalyst that leads to more home runs as he goes. But just an overall good day, 9-4 in the second game, and just they look to take that series today now. Weather permitting, should be going down. I'm supposed to be going down, barring a rain out. I'm looking forward to having good seats. They're currently one game back in the wild card, but those four teams are clumped together. The Marlins, I believe it's I forget who the second team is now, but the Marlins, the Phillies, and it might be Milwaukee. I'd have to look into it, and we'll check and we'll have updated standings tomorrow. But they're ready to make that move, and it's good to see that they're back from their extended All-Star break. But if you want more Phillies coverage, check out our friends at 2008 Phils. It's the biggest Phillies email newsletter in the world. Must read. I read it on a regular basis. They have a ton of insight, some fun stuff, historical stuff, basically everything you need for the Phils. And for right now, they're offering This Day in Philly Sports History listeners 75% off a subscription. What that subscription gets you is access to everything on their site, archives, new stuff. They have a free version, but you got to unlock the subscription for all the good stuff. So you get access to all that, as well as the 2008 Phillies championship banner shirt that you've seen me wear on this podcast. 2008 Phils will follow your Twitter account if that's something that you want. They have a very big following, always retweeting things. So if you're trying to grow your brand or your Twitter followers, that definitely is a way to go. Access to Philly-specific giveaways, memorabilia, autographs, tickets, you name it. It's basically your one-stop shop for Phillies information. And it's just $2 a month. Or just pay the $20 for the whole year. And honestly, the $20 is worth it. I keep saying this, but it's worth it for the shirt. So check out 2008 Phils. The link, the link for This Day in Philly Sports History listeners is in the description wherever you're getting this. So be sure to check them out. $20 gets you a whole shit ton of stuff, including that awesome t-shirt. So be sure to check them out. All right, Sixers update. There's no real update in As the Harden Turns, which could be a good thing. I think maybe it's a slow news week. I don't know. But I have to mention this because I don't want to say he's my nemesis, but he puts a lot of stuff out there that I don't necessarily agree with. Marcus Hayes had his opinion piece in this weekend's Inquirer about how the Sixers only matched the contract for B-Ball Paul to appease angry Sixers fans. And I don't know if it's true or not. I mean, I think he was just basing it off of his opinion, but I hope that's not why they signed him. I mean, I do think he's going to be a good player. It is a baffling move since they just signed all those the other Mo Bamba and re-signed Harrell, but I don't know. Just one of those things. Sometimes he puts stuff out there that just really, really irks me, but that's our As the Harden Turns was the B-Ball Paul article by Marcus Hayes. All right, the Union won 2-1 over New York City Football Club yesterday. They are now off until Saturday when they kick off the League's Cup. The MLS plays the teams from the Liga MX in Mexico. So looking forward to that nice little break. They should be getting some guys back from their national. I guess there was the Gold Cup. They had some players playing, so they should be at full strength. So anxious to just it's always fun the way soccer does that, and I think that's what the NBA is trying to do. But they're doing it with their own teams. Like if they played teams from like a China Basketball Association or like a European team league, that would be cool. But they're doing it in, and we'll get more on that as the time comes. But all right, today, sticking with the Sixers, we're going to go back to 2003. And on July 16th, 2003, the Sixers signed Kenny Thomas to a 7-year, $50 million contract. Thomas came over from the Rockets in a trade in 2002. They re-signed him. Unfortunately, he never lived up to the hype. But in his defense, his production remained pretty consistent. He averaged 12 and 9. When the Sixers brought him in, and then after the contract, that's what he continued to average. So basically he's a victim of not being worth the contract. Very, very similar to Tobias Harris. And Tobias was a good player. Kenny Thomas was a good player, but they're both who they are, and that was what happened with Kenny Thomas. He stayed a season and a half after the contract was traded to Sacramento as part of the deal that brought Chris Webber in. Interesting fact, though, he was one of the last guys to sign one of those 7-year deals. The new CBA maxes it now at 5 years. So, again, it's not his fault. He just was who he was, and the Sixers overvalued him, and it looks bad in theory, but, again, not his fault. If you want more Sixers free agent tidbits and info like that, check out the Back to the Future from 2 weeks ago. We took a deep dive into the best and worst free agents in Sixers history. That's Back to the Future with a PH. But on this day, it was the Sixers signing Kenny Thomas to a 7-year, $50 million deal and a contract that he never lived up to, very similar to what we're dealing with, or we have been dealing with Tobias Harris. All right, you know who will live up to their contract? PhillyGoat.com. Go check them out. They have a wide selection of Philly sports-based apparel, T-shirts, sweatshirts, any size, any team, basically you name it, they have it. You can get any color, but go check them out. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off your order. That's PhillyGoat.com. And like I said, they will not let you down and live up to the contract. All right, time for the Philly Sports Most Lovable Loser Tournament update, and today is the final day of the first round. Starting tomorrow, we get into some really good matchups now, but wrapping up the Phillies regional, the 2022 Phillies, after getting off to a slow start, did come back and win over the 1950 Phillies with 67% of the vote, so they will move on to take on, I believe they're on the same side of the bracket as the 93 Phillies, so I'm looking forward to that matchup later next week. Today is the final first round matchup in the Sixers regional, and we have the number 2 seed, the 76-77 Sixers, taking on the 7 seed, 80-81 Sixers. Let's start with the 76-77 Sixers. They went 15-32, won the Atlantic Division, were the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. This was Dr. J's first year as a Sixer. He won the MVP. Him and George McGinnis, along with Doug Collins, were the all-star representatives for the Sixers. McGinnis and Dr. J were all NBA second team. Each of them averaged 21 points a game that year. Also on that team, Darryl Dawkins, Caldwell Jones, Henry Bibby, Joe Jellybean Bryant, Kobe's dad, and my favorite, the mayor, Steve Mix. They beat the Celtics 4-3 in the playoffs, then the Rockets 4-2 to meet the Trailblazers in the NBA Finals. They got up 2-0 and blew the lead, losing 4 straight to Bill Walton. And it was probably one of their best chances to win a title. They'd have to wait another 6 seasons before they would eventually, but that team just very disappointed that they blew the 2-0 lead over the Blazers to Bill Walton. But let's move on to the 80-81 Sixers. They went 62-20. They were second in the division, lost the tiebreaker to the Celtics. They actually were tied with them had the same record. They were 3rd seed behind the Celtics and the Bucks. Dr. J was also an MVP that year. He was all NBA first team. Bobby Jones, Caldwell Jones were all defensive NBA first team. Mo Cheeks was on that team. This was Andrew Toney's rookie year. Daryl Dawkins was still on that team, as the mayor Steve Mix was too. So they beat the Pacers 2-0. Then the Bucks 4-3. Took on the Celtics in the Eastern Conference Final. Had a 3-1 lead that they blew. So do you see a theme in this matchup? Both teams blew pretty commanding leads in their respective seasons. They ended up losing 4-3 to the Celtics. Those 3 straight losses were by 2, 2, and 1 point. So it's not like they didn't put up a fight and got blown out. They were in it, and they just couldn't close the deal against the Celtics. Played this out on What If Sports, and it was the 80-81 Sixers winning 60% of the time over the 76-77 Sixers. Dr. J was the MVP of the series on both sides. Each game, he was the player of the game. So just shows how much he was worth. But it's your turn. Tell me who wins, the 76-77 Sixers or the 80-81. Be sure to leave a comment. Vote. If you're on Spotify, the poll will be up. Question of the day. Text me. Don't send smoke signals today because it's raining. I'm not going to see them, but let me know who wins. Be sure to vote. The first round comes to an end today. We kick off the second round tomorrow. On this day, back in 2003, the Sixers signed Kenny Thomas to a 7-year, $50 million contract, which he just didn't live up to. Phil's looking to win that series against the Padres. Hopefully, I'll be in attendance again, hopefully, as long as it doesn't rain out. But let's go. Enjoy your Sunday. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History. I'm Jim Montgomery. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.